Well, welcome back as we continue our conversations with different kinds of entrepreneurs and how they grew their business and what they're all about. I'm thrilled to have Kelli Higgins on the podcast today. She is the founder of Elevated Agent, which is a very dynamic marketing company, and she has a niche in the real estate world. But I think what's more important about her story is the fact that she was in real estate. So she was in sales on a service platform and found a way to create a marketing product and products and a whole suite of products to elevate, no pun intended, to elevate her brand and help the people that she worked closely with in the industry. So, Kelli, welcome to the Small Business Mindset.
You. I'm excited to be here. I love the puns, and I will tell you that elevated, the word elevated, it allows for a lot of puns. So
I'm
it's
sure
okay.
it does.
Anytime I can build off that, I'm all about it. So I like
That's
it.
wonderful. Yeah. So whether you are listening and you are in real estate or you are just in sales or you just own a company and whether you're doing it at home by yourself or you manage a team, I think our conversation we're going to have today, I think will be really interesting and influential on how you think about driving your business and growing. So, Kelli, can you kind of walk us through your business trajectory? Like, you started in real estate and where did this idea come from for Elevated Agent?
Well, I have a background in graphic design, in economic development, and in real estate. So those all seem like really weird industries to kind of connect all of them. But I've been a real estate agent for 18 years now, and my then husband, we moved here to Topeka for a job position, and it was really the first time I had left my position as an economic developer, and it was the first time that I was really able to just say, you know what, I just want to be a real estate agent, and I'm just really going to give it a true college try, because now we live in a community that is much more robust and that can actually a real estate agent can really have a career. Before, we lived in very small communities, and so I always had another industry that I was dabbling in. But so when we moved here, I was like, I'm going to try it. So in 2015, we moved to Topeka. And then in 2016, I became the fastest growing real estate agent in the city. And that got attention of a lot of agents, and not necessarily in a good way. I had a lot of agents that would kind of not be very nice to me, or even report me to KREC because they thought what I was doing was not legal. It totally was. I was always very careful about making sure things were legal
Yeah.
and above bar. And it kind of gave me like a little bit of a fire, just because I was like, people are hating this. Like, general public love it, but my competitors are kind of hating it. And so I'm like, let's just keep going. And I always joked that like my favorite thing was to see one of my marketing pieces that like another agent had to deal with because that was their client. um, and so I always kind of giggled when I would see that. But so I started in 2016, became the fastest growing agent. And I really say it was because of the marketing pieces that I was creating and promoting. It was just people hadn't seen it before. It was different, but it was also fresh. I think that people were like, oh, this is cool. This is easy. And so a lot of the things that I was doing then are kind of older now. But one thing I did was I bought the URL My Topeka Home Value. And then I really pushed it with Facebook ads and social media. Anywhere I was kind of first on the QR code. Not a lot of people were using QR codes. The QR code, I will say, back then was a little bit harder to use because people just didn't really know how to use it. There was a little education with it. But then people would go to this website and they would get an instant, home value. And other people in my industry was like, that it's black magic. But
Like, how are you doing that? How are you? Right. Because you're disrupting the
and
marketplace.
also knew, though, that the power wasn't necessarily in that website. The power was in what I did after. So I always truly knew that if someone went to get their home value from my website, like that was a flaming hot lead. And so a lot of times I would do a pop by to their house and be like, you know what, I just went ahead and printed this out. Like, I saw that you got a home value, but I did a couple of comps for you and I put it in a folder that just had a sticker on it, whatever. And sometimes I would just drop it off on their porch and not even ring the doorbell or, something like that, or mail it. I did that. And so I was really targeting the people that had already interacted with me. And I think I closed close to 5,000 or 5 million that year in production. And that was huge. Like that was before all of the 2020, frenzy and all of that. It was a different market. It was much more a seller's market. And so one of the things that I did also really well was open houses. I didn't know anyone, and I know personally that the people receive me best face to face. And so I started borrowing listings from other agents and just holding open houses. But the one thing that really turned the tide was people finally realized I wasn't just like here one day and gone the next, that I was really an agent that was going to stay. And so they started looking at what I was doing and they were saying, where did you get this? Like this listing presentation isn't anything I've ever seen. Where did this come from? Your marketing looks so professional, because I would actually have them professionally printed. And people were just doing copies at that time, and so finally I was like, I think there might be something to this. I think I can maybe do something with my marketing, but I just didn't know what it was. So it was in my head. I had people saying those things to me, and I always highly recommend that if someone or a group of people, especially people that you trust and admire, are saying, this is really cool, or where did you get that, or how did you learn to do that? Like, take note of those phrases, because I feel like those are just little success clues of something that you're just truly really good at. Sometimes we don't notice it because we either enjoy it so much and it's just not, it's nothing but a thing to us. But I would absolutely say that those little success clues are going to lead you to even bigger success if you can follow them. But so that's what I did. And I just kind of kept digging into my marketing and making it better and making more pieces. So I would have like a buyer's guide, and I made all of these things inside of Canva. I was a member of Canva for, now it's been right at 10 years, and they're just a little over 10 years old. I was on Canva when you had to request to have a user, and you got put on a wait list, and then finally they'd email you and be like, oh, you can finally use Canva now. And so that's how long I've been on Canva. And so I had a friend, making a long story long, sorry, I had a friend that was on Etsy, and she was selling graphics that people could then like heat press onto t-shirts. So it'd say like, God is good, or whatever it was, like your elementary school, or whatever, Mama Bear. But she was selling them as these SVG, so Sam Victor Girl files. And I was like, well, if you can sell that kind of file, like, why can't I sell my Canva file? And I knew that I could grab a link out of Canva and then somebody else could also use it, which was really at that time, like the forefront of technology. That was really cool. Like, you couldn't do that with Adobe. Right. And I was always an Adobe girl. And so that's why I loved the idea of Canva, is because I was like very collaborative. And so I just sat down and I was like, I want to figure this out. And I started my Etsy store in 2018. And it was kind of history ever since then. I believe it was just one other girl on Etsy that really targeted real estate agents. I knew from my marketing background that the riches are in the niches. And I was like, I'm just going to focus on real estate agents. And that's a decision I've never regretted. I get requests all the time to design things for other industries. And I literally say no, because I know that my eyes, it's on the prize, and the prize is the niche that I'm in. And so I do think there's room for other niches for sure to do what I do. But I started out with just me and the other girl, and there was a lot of education that we had to do with our customers. I would say it was probably a solid year to year and a half of being on Etsy before people kind of caught on. And of course, that's when we had a lot more competition come to Etsy. But that's how we started. And it has been kind of a really fun roller coaster ever since. I've owned many businesses, but I will 100% say this is my favorite one, and also the one that has just been such an organic growth. It's been a fun growth, and the places that it's taken me has just been really just enjoyable. I love seeing people have success with our product. And I just have loved every moment of it. And I've never really experienced that before, but I do think it's because I took so many passions and just combined them all together.
What a great story. And you have some really good nuggets in there, with the, you know, disrupting the industry for one thing. I think sometimes, I'm glad that you heard the whispers when people were coming to you. It's like, how did you do that? How did you do that? That's a definite signal. And you're right. So many times we just don't pay attention to those things. We think it's like, well, of course. I mean, of course I do this. Why don't you do this?
Yeah.
But then being able to create something and capitalize on that is pretty ingenious. And I love that you're niching. I think I talk about this a lot with my clients too. I think it's so easy for us to want to be a one size fits all for everybody because I think we're scared to say no to business, but when we
Absolutely.
really,
Oh, sorry.
go ahead.
The one thing I love to kind of say about that is there are a lot of people that do what I do in my own niche in real estate and everything, but a lot of them focus on social media. And so I've just said, you know what? Like, I don't even personally, and like, I don't enjoy social media a ton,
Yeah.
like it's all right. I know it's part of it. I don't mind doing it every once in a while. I'm not consistent with it. So I just know that's not our like wheelhouse necessarily. We do have graphics for social media, absolutely. But I just know that that's not really our thing. So we really even just focus even more on like print products and stuff like that, and not even on social media. So like there's still so much room inside of a niche that people underestimate. Like they think a niche is like the end all be all. But like I'm in a really small niche and we don't even do social media. You know what I mean? Like we don't do a
Yeah.
lot of it, I should say. So
Yeah.
there is so much room, I think, that people really just underestimate.
Okay, so I'm going to switch gears for just a second. How did you decide? You found your niche. You have the background. So I mean, I assume creating the design, you're like, well, this is what I'm going to do for my business anyways. Now I'm going to share it with people and I'm going to monetize it. How did you figure out what to really focus on? And I know you have a system that you is tried and true for you, but I want you to share it with our listeners because I think that is kind of the proof in the pudding in a way. Is I think anytime we have ideas, it's overwhelming because you're thinking, I have all the things I want to do. What do I truly focus on to move the dial forward? Because at the end of the day, we can spin our wheels and we can do things for fun and we can do things for a hobby, but hobby does not bring us money and does not grow our businesses. So what tactics have you found to streamline, okay, what am I need to focus on to really give this a go and to really make it profitable?
That I love that question. And so I just real quick, I'm going to kind of show you what my product is and how
Yeah,
we sell it. So that way everyone kind of understands
love it. Please
exactly
do.
what it is that we sell. So
Yes.
this is a sample that we had printed. We physically don't print anything for our customers, but this is what it could look like in the end for them. We design everything you see here. We design, so all of the text is included. We even include the can images in case they don't have access to some of them. And then they get the link to this and they open it up inside of Canva and then they edit everything you see for their information. So for example, at the very beginning where it says like welcome, all they would have to do, all an agent would have to do is really update their name and contact information and then throw in their photo. This is already written for them. They don't even have to do that. They don't have to come up with an image for the front, nothing. We've done all of it. So this is what they would print, but the only thing I sell to them is a link. That's really the heart of what I sell is a URL link to this design inside of Canva. So nothing I sell is physical. Everything is digital. So I just wanted to be very clear
That's
on that.
awesome. Yeah. And then I'm
Yeah,
assuming
and
when
it's
they,
great. I call it my wake up money, because I can sell that in my sleep and I
Mhm.
do nothing with it. So the back end of Etsy and now our Shopify website, like when someone purchases something from us, it automatically emails them the PDF that we've created that has the link inside of it. So when you create a new product, you put everything all into one listing and then it's done forever. So that's what we love, evergreen marketing, right? That's the reoccurring revenue that you love. So how I decided what to create first and really what to focus on was I knew as a real estate agent, and you are absolutely right that that has served me so well. And a lot of people can tell because they'll say, you must be a real estate agent because you know what everyone needs to know. So that's the thing is like I had all of that knowledge of like what questions sellers ask me before. I knew that, man, I really hated it when my clients would have to ask me a question, and it really should have been something I told them. For example, like, what time is closing? Okay, you shouldn't be asking me that. I, as your agent, should have already told you. And that was the stuff that like just irritated me. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Kelly, come on, get with it. Like, I was irritated at myself. And so I just had all of that knowledge. So I know, for example, my target audience, their core pieces are going to be a listing presentation, a seller's presentation, probably some type of open house, and then maybe like postcards and a few of those other things. But really, I was like, I know that those really three things are going to be the core pieces for real estate agents. Another thing that I just really want your listeners to hear is everything that I sell, they could pretty much get for free from their broker, maybe just by Googling it online. But they still pay for it because of the design aesthetic that they like from us. We are a very modern and beautiful designs. We're very intentional with our designs. People come to us because they just look so professional. And also they just want something a little different. You know, they're tired of all of the agents in their brokerage having the exact same listing presentation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it came from for me when I designed my own all those years ago, is because I was like, I don't want the same presentation that they email to everybody in the office. Like, that's so silly. And so I just knew the core pieces. And so my idea was, I can get these core pieces and maybe make them in a couple of different styles, that gives me quite a few products, but really it's only just one or two products, like it's the exact same information. I'm just kind of repackaging it. And once I had those, when I started my Etsy account, I love it when people say, like, how's your little Etsy business? And I'm like, don't worry. As I go to the bank, I'm like, we're doing just fine. So really, I encourage everyone to start out with about 20 products, and then just build out from there. We always take recommendations from our customers. If someone emails us and say, hey, we would love to see this, I'm like, great, put you on the list. And we have a whole list inside of our project management software of people requesting certain templates. But that's pretty much how I decided what to focus on at the very beginning. And then I also knew it was really important for us to have a really good customer experience. So that was something that was important to me also. So not only am I selling you a template, I'm also going to probably throw in some sort of strategy to do with that template. So a lot of our stuff comes with like an extra video that shows you how to either implement the product or how to print the product. So that way we're not only just throwing a template at you, but we're actually helping you implement it or print it, something like that. We're helping you along the way.
That's awesome. So you're not just transactional, you're creating that value add experience for every single one of your customers, because I always tell people, I'm like, your success is my success. If I'm not creating value for you and you're not successful, then I really haven't done my job well enough. So I think it's this full circle effect. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
All right.
And our returning customer rate is 42%, which is huge when you look at e-commerce. They could forget about us in another day, but they don't, because we do help you along the way. We have a really robust YouTube channel, and people can go there and learn how to use our products. We also, I truly believe in email marketing. If everything were to go away today and I could only pick one type of marketing to move forward with, it would be email marketing.
Okay.
And I love it because it is a one-track stop to my customer's inbox, right? It is like I can talk straight to them. I can mass email. I can target certain customers. It is just, if you really dig into email marketing, like, it is a beast all in its own. So that is something that we really love. And people don't get off of our email list because we're not only selling to you. I send at least one sales email a week, and it is a very sales email. I am a person that I do believe in. I like a good hard sales email. I also want to tell you what to do. So like in the sales email, I'll say, click here to see this template, buy it now. Like I'm telling people subconsciously what I want them to do. And I 100% believe in that. I think that a lot of people don't do that enough. And so they don't see those transactions because they're not asking for it. Right. I also am a really big believer in telling people how to use our product. So that way they're a little bit more educated about it and they're more likely to convert. So for example, here we have a cookbook. This is really cool. But if you just saw this and be like, okay, well, like, how would I use a cookbook, right? Mm-hmm. So in the email we sent out, we put a bunch of beautiful images to it. And I say, you change this out and you put your name here, and then your clients will have a cookbook with your face on it forever. It's not something they're going to throw away. You know, this isn't something that expires in a year. It's not a calendar. You know, it's something they keep forever. You know, and it's thick, and your name's at the bottom of every single page. Like, that's amazing. And so I write this stuff in the email. You know, I have a picture of this page, and it has an arrow that points down here, and it says, like, even if they're making one recipe out of your cookbook, they're still looking at you. And so I am very, very diligent with our emails. But then the other thing is that we love on our email list. We are giving away freebies. We are giving free trainings. We are doing, if we have anything that is like a limited quantity, so if we do any type of training or anything like that, our email list gets first dibs. And we make that very clear. And I'll even say in my emails, don't unsubscribe because you might miss out on the next freebie. I will say that. And because I think people need to hear, subconsciously, they're going to be like, oh, I shouldn't unsubscribe. You know, like, I don't want to miss out on that freebie. We as sellers get scared to ask for what we want. But in reality, the buyer has so much marketing in front of them all the time that if you aren't direct, they are going to just scroll right past you. No, so that is one thing that we do with our email list is we sell hard on it, but we also love hard on it. But we have a list that gets almost 2% clicks every email and about a 50 to 55% open rate, which is pretty good. And consistently about every 90 days, we're selling at least $20,000 off of our emails.
That's fantastic. I
think just to give you a number to quantify.
Yeah. I'm glad you talked about just the assumption. I think just we in general assume people know what to do next, or, you know, how to take the next step. And you're right. Why are people so afraid to ask for the business? Like, ask for the business. That's what you want. And it's okay, you know, and I do think you set yourself apart if you're willing to be confident and strong in that. Just ask for it. I mean, because if you believe passionately enough in what you're selling, it's not even really a sales pitch. It's almost like, I'm giving you a gift here. Yes, you want to take advantage of this. Let me nod with me here.
Yes, so. Yes. And like, I know I give good information. Sometimes we do like article emails, and I'm like, this is like meat and potatoes, you know, like that's always my goal. Like, I don't like fluff myself. And so I'm just like, just let me tell you real quick, just listen for a second. And they do, you know. Well, I used to be a photographer back in my early 20s, and I learned this concept, and I'm sorry, I can't remember where, or maybe I just kind of came up with it. I don't know. But I would have my clients come back and view their photos for the first time with me, because I was like, I want to create that excitement and like, where they feel like scarcity almost, you know, and I don't want them to see it before meeting with me, because that just takes away the excitement. By the time they come to meet with me, it's kind of gone, you know. And it was really important for me to say, this is your ordering meeting, because I want them, I think setting expectations is so imperative, and we don't do it enough, that I wanted to set that expectation that they were going to come and they were going to place an order, like, period, because that's what the meeting is called. And so I've always just kind of carried that with me throughout all of my other businesses, where I'm like, I just want to set the expectation to what to expect.
And the sense of urgency, you know, because you want people to take advantage and buy from you, you know, versus coming back and back. Could you walk us through, what is your marketing strategy for your company? I mean, how do you approach that? And I know you said email list is golden, and I couldn't agree more, but there's so many different ways to get messages out there. How do you approach it?
Yes, so I love to call it my sticky web. And I have a little graphic here, like I always do.
Love it.
This is what I call my sticky web. So my website is in the middle. Our website is built on Shopify. If you are an e-commerce business at all, if you sell things online, I absolutely think that you should be on Shopify. The platform is built solely for e-commerce, and it is just amazing. I've tried others. We've stuck with Shopify, and it's amazing. So the reason why I like for my website to be my hub is because I know I own it. No one can take it away from me. I own the URL, I own the actual website, and all of the information on the website I own. So when we started out on Etsy, that was great. But I quickly realized Etsy takes about 50%. My customers can always be stolen from a competitor because they clearly promote everybody. And then also their information I can't keep. It is against Etsy's terms and condition to actually take your buying customers' information. And I mean their mailing address, their name, email, nothing. You're not allowed to have access. You can have access to it, but you're not allowed to use it for marketing purposes beyond that. My website, I can do anything I want with it. So that is a really big reason. So that's why my website is here in the middle. So the sticky web comes because you start using all of these other marketing methods to cross promote one another. And what it creates is this web where once someone gets inside of it, they just can't get out because you're consistently moving them from one place to the other. So for example, I'll use our email, which is right down here. So our email also, we will promote our memberships on email. So we could actually increase we have 2 small memberships. I shouldn't say small, but they're $5 a month. So that's why I was thinking small. We have 2 different memberships that people can be a part of. This is about probably about a fourth of our annual revenue. It is a 6-figure a year, multiple 6-figure a year membership. So it's big for us, right? So our email will promote people to get into our memberships. Our membership dashboard, it also sends people to our YouTube page because we have trainings on there. Our membership dashboard also sends people back to our website if they want other templates that they could use. Our email will also, let's see, okay, so we have a quiz that we do, so where people can take our quiz and it determines what brand style that we've created matches their brand the best. And so our email will say, hey, have you taken our quiz yet? And then inside of the quiz, it sends you back to our website. So that way you can see all of the templates that go with that brand that you ended up with. That quiz will also then take you to our social medias at the end of it. It also promotes our memberships. So everything goes back to one another. It says text here because part of our membership, we have a text message aspect to it. So sometimes when we're running sales, we'll send a text to our text message group and that will point them back to our website to go to the sale. Every once in a while, I'll say, hey, don't forget to follow us on social media. We also have an affiliate program. So everything shoots back to one another. So on Etsy, for example, they give you what I like to call these places like billboards for your business. They give you lots of options for that. For example, one of them is when someone makes an order from you, they immediately go to a thank you page. And you can write any message you want on that thank you page. That is a billboard for your business. When I first started my Etsy account, I wanted people on my email list, and I knew I couldn't get them on my email list because Etsy's rules. So I said, I'll give you, it was $20 at first, but I'll give you $20 in free templates if you sign up for our email list. And so then they would sign up for the email list and they'd come back and say, okay, this is the template I want. And it was really cumbersome. We now do like a few different things, but that's how I grew my email list. But that's a whole billboard, right? I just got someone on my email list because of my thank you page. But then also they will email your customer a special email after they make a purchase. So on that email, I was like, hey, I'll give you $5 in free templates if you leave us a review, and so I am just, every chance I get, I'm like, woohoo, over here, we create a PDF download that says like, thank you so much. Here is your link. But if you want to learn how to use your templates, here is our social media. Click here because it's a PDF. They can have live links in them, right? So I'm like, click here, go to our social media. And then I have a whole second page that goes with your download that says, look at this product, look at this product. I use it as an advertisement. Like, why not, right? It's my business. I get to pick to do whatever I want. Now, your link that you purchase is on the front page and it's in bright red letters. And so it's easy for you to access. That's another billboard. I'm like, why wouldn't I use my download to try to get people to come back? You open up your template inside of Canva, that same billboard that's on that download is probably going to be on the last page of your template. While it might be annoying, all you have to do is delete it. Like, it's not hurting you any. So that's what I mean when I'm looking for billboards inside of my own business.
I love it. I think and you also hit on a concept of, I think we automatically assume that our customer base needs to hear something different from us every single time. And even though you just named 6 or 7 different platforms, it's a similar message, just presented in different ways and different platforms. And so, I know I heard once upon a time the old adage in marketing, you have to get in front of people 7 different times before they
Yep.
actually take advantage of something. And that's a lot of repeat. And I think ourselves were like, well, I've already told him this twice. Well, you got to
But
tell him to him 5 more times. Don't be
it is so
afraid to
true.
shout it from the rooftops. It's like, yes, this is what I'm trying to share with you and teach you and sell you and get you engaged with what I'm all about.
You are so right. And that is where I agree. That is where a lot of people mess up, especially when it comes to their branding. So it's a very psychological, actually. So branding is truly psychology between you and your buyer, right? Why it's important is because every time they see you on a platform, let's just use Instagram for an example. They see you on a platform and they're like, oh, that's kind of cool. I'm going to go to her link tree, in her bio, right? So they click on your link tree, but then it's like a picture of you that's like from 10 years ago. And they're like, oh, okay. And they click on the button that you were just promoting, and like the images are totally different on the landing page than what they just saw in your Instagram post. And now they're like, oh, this feels weird. What happens? Every one of those steps, you are breaking down the trust that they have with you. They
Mm,
see your older photo and they're instantly like, this is weird. But you know what else is happening? Is inside of their mind, they're like, what else hasn't she updated? Why doesn't this look similar? Why is this different? Is she trying to bait and switch me? Those are all really big doubts that you're planting in someone's mind to not trust you as a brand. So that is why it is important to have the exact same profile picture across all of your platforms. That is why your bio should really pretty much be the same, maybe tweaked a little bit for each platform, but it really should have the same messaging. If you're promoting a product, we try really hard if we have our mock-ups on Instagram that we use the same mock-ups in our listing photos, because we want people to feel like it's the exact same product that we were just showing them on Instagram. Every one of those steps where they feel like things are similar, we're building trust instead of breaking down on that trust. So we as creators and marketers and the business owner, we're like, man, this is boring, right? Like, this is so boring. I'm tired of seeing this photo. I hate this photo. Or this is TikTok. It should be more fun. It should be whatever. But in reality, it is so important to have things that are on brand and similar across all platforms, because that's really what ultimately will build the trust between you and your customer.
that is such great advice. Yeah. And just having, kind of an updated, polished look. I think you're right. I didn't thought about it until you said it, about making sure you're updating those things in all your on all your platforms. I know, it made me think about our own company website and, just making sure photos are updated and, because we were under construction for a while and now we're open. It's like, that needs to get updated, because you're right. That was a year and a half ago. Someone doesn't want to think we're not open yet. So just paying
Yeah, like for
attention.
real estate agents, we have a ton of websites that we can use to promote ourselves. For example, like our own website, the MLS, Zillow, Realtor.com, Homes.com. We have all of these where we can have our own profiles, but I can't tell you how many times I go and look at a real estate agents and it's a different person on every single one. I'm like,
Right.
who is that?
You're right. Consistency across your brand is so important. All right. I know you and I were chatting before we started our podcast about a system I think we both like to use. And I know it's kind of the 80-20 rule, or affectionately called Pareto's principle. But talk with our listeners about how you use this, how you have used this within your business to be more effective with your time management, to be more effective with your growth and your sales.
So this was about a year and a half ago that I went through this the very first time. I'm going to show you. And after doing it last year, our business grew 65%. Like
Wow.
65% is crazy. And I truly I give that success really down to this, because it helps me realize that I have to leverage things to grow things. And I think that I was in a state of, I had all these dreams of growth, but I was literally not changing anything, right? Like, if nothing changes, nothing changes. And so I was
Yeah.
like, okay, we got to have a different way of doing things. So I sat down and I wrote down every single task I was doing inside of my business, every single task. And I left this open ended for probably 3 or 4 days. And this is what it looked like. And I also, honestly, I thought I would have more. I was like, I'm so busy. There's got to be like 4 pages here. But
Right.
this is really, truly what I came up with. And I edited it, like I spent days like making sure this was true, because if you're not being honest with yourself, then why are you doing it? Right. And so I came up with 44 different tasks that I was doing that I just couldn't continue to do. So I was thinking, okay, if it's 80/20, then I have to figure out how many equals 20%, right? So I think it ended up being 8 or 9, like 8 point something. So I went with 9.
Yeah.
And so that is 80% of 44 is 9 tasks. So I said, okay, I'm going to go through. I did blue was me. And so I went through, it's kind of hard to see, but I went
Yeah.
through and I highlighted all of the ones that I felt like, let's see, 5. Okay, maybe it was only 5. But that I was like, I have to do these. These are the ones. And so then after that, I went through, I did like the neon yellow was assistant work. And then the pink was designer work. Since we're marketing, I need like graphic
Right.
designer. And then the
Yeah.
green was a specialist. And so if you can see, I just went through and I just highlighted, because I'm a very visual person. I was like, I need color. Like I just need it to be colored. And so then after I made this list, I was like, okay, I am only able to do these in blue. If it is not in blue, I have to find someone. So then it really became who. And after that, I have a small team. There's 3, I have 3 girls that work for me. So there's 4 of us total. And we just sat down and we said, who is going to do what? We all sat down together. They were excited to do the task with us. So they got their new assignments. And then the ones that were specialists, I've gone out and I've searched and found. So I hired a website designer, because none of us had that degree, especially. We hired a CFO because none of us had that degree, especially. And so there were definitely things that I ended up hiring, but honestly, the team took care of about everything, with an exception of like maybe 3 or 4 things that we then did. I did like subcontractors and not hiring onto the team.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it was amazing. It took time. I will say it probably took about 3 months to offboard everything else. And I can genuinely look at this list and be like, I don't do any of those things anymore.
Wow.
I still do not do any of those things anymore. If for some reason I lose someone and they can't do it anymore, I don't take it on myself. I find someone else. And I think that's really important. But this was such an eye opener. And I think figuring out like, okay, I can only pick 5 of these. Like that was such a big eye opener,
Yeah.
because I was like, no, try like pick 5, like, and you can't be like my favorites, because there's a lot of things on here that I love doing, but I just can't do them anymore.
At what point in your business journey did you make the decision to hire your first employee?
My first employee was an additional designer. She's still with me today. And I knew it was because I just needed to get more designs out. Like I just knew I needed more product. My goal was to get to 1,000 products. And we're there now. And we maintain, I mean, we pull some that become dated, or whatever, but we're constantly putting out new. And so that was my first, and it was just because I knew to make more sales, I just needed more product. And so I think I did that probably about year 3. And I think that was also because more competition was coming onto the market. And I was then like kind of trying to keep up with other people. And also at that point, I had developed enough of my own products that I could give her a template and say, okay, I need this template, but I need it to look like 4 different designs. You know what I mean? Like remake this, but make it look different, but 4 different ways. And so that's what she does. So now at this point, I basically will create the original design, and then I send it to her and she remakes it in all of the different designs that we offer. But yeah, that was probably about year 3. And I think that it was pretty good timing, because it was definitely a point where everything else had become so much that I just couldn't spend near as much time designing.
Right. And I would say how we spend our time is sometimes challenging, because we think, well, I could do this. I mean, I can physically do this. I know how to do this. I can pay my own taxes and draft the new contract or whatever like that. But it comes down to time and the time value of money and what that means to you. I think the scariest thing sometimes for business owners to first and foremost identify what activities, and I'm so glad you did this, what activities can only you do by yourself. I mean, you can't outsource this. You can't outsource the ideas. They can brainstorm with you, but it's you. I mean, that's your magic, but they can help you then implement it and into that system and make the dream happen. But I think the biggest challenge is too, is that, okay, at what point, I think some people are so fearful to take away from their profits to invest in talent. How did you overcome that? I mean, did you say, okay, I'm going to dedicate a certain percentage of my profits to hiring this person with the hope that then I'll level up and then I'll make more? How did you approach that?
So I will be really honest with you. I am not a numbers girl. I'm a creative. Numbers do mean a lot to me, but I probably make these decisions not based off of money as much. But I think hiring Maria, my designer, helped me because it made me realize I can make more money even by paying her, even above paying her, because now we have more options. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, like I kind of get it. And then, sorry, I lost my train of thought.
So how did you make the decision to fund your new hire? I mean, you said it wasn't financially driven, but you realized
it's not. Okay. So the real story is I am obsessed with creating a life that I'm obsessed with. And I'm a pretty low energy person, which I know sounds so strange, but I like guard my energy like a knight. Okay. And because I am just such low energy. So I'm like, if I don't want to do it, I need to find someone else that can do it because it just drains my energy. So when I was doing my own bookkeeping, like I would wait to the last minute. Like it probably cost me money because I was like paying not fines, but like, you know what I mean? Like, So I guess I was just like, when it came to hiring people, it wasn't like financial that made those decisions. It was just like, I just don't want to do this anymore. Or I just couldn't. Like, we hired a customer service person and she now answers all of our emails and everything. And I was getting annoyed with all of the customer service. It's just not my jam. Okay. I'm just not great with that. And so I was like, I got to get this off. It is just, I'm drowning in customer service emails. And you might be wondering, like, what kind of emails are we getting? Well, our product, since it is a little bit more of a technical product, we get a lot of emails of people asking us how to use Canva. And while that is not my problem, and sometimes that was what my response, like I wanted it to be, like,
yeah,
it's not my problem. You don't know how to use Canva.
I'm here to teach you how to use my product. Yeah,
exactly. But I can't have that attitude when, like I know this business is a relationship built business. And so I think this is why it took me a second to get to this point, because maybe it makes me look a little bit bad. But I was just like, I can't handle these customer service anymore. So I hired someone to answer it. And it was like the best thing I ever did because I didn't dread it anymore. And that energy is so important to me. Like if I dread something, it's like the worst to me. And so that's kind of where I'm like, once I start dreading something, I'm like, I think it might be time to handle it. Because honestly, if you dread it, you're not going to do very well at it. Like I was butting those answers to those people because I didn't want to do it, and now the girl that we have in place, her name is Divine, and she's divine at it. And she is, she writes these beautiful messages to these people. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry you're having all of these problems. Here's a video we've recorded and da 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 da. I would have been like, sent the link and that was it.
Yes.
But one thing that I will say that has made the biggest difference when it comes to hiring, onboarding, and having a team is that when I first started doing it, I would just want to throw people in and be like, well, why aren't you producing what is on brand? Why aren't you producing what I want? I thought you were good at this. Like, I clearly don't have very many patients, I guess, but I wasn't quite that intense. But I was just like confused, I saw in your portfolio and you're really good. Like, where's that? Well, it was because I wasn't setting them up for success. So now when I bring people in, like I have a very clear expectation of what I expect to be designed because I have templates in place. For the girl that does our social media, I have in Canva, we have a whole section for social media posts, and I have designed probably a couple of hundred that she can go in and kind of find and tweak and play with. But I already have a framework set up for her. So I'm not expecting her to design anything from scratch because that's coming out of my mind. Like you said earlier, how would I ever expect her to design exactly what's in my mind? Same thing with Maria, our designer. I design the original and then I send it to her to then do in our different designs because she needs to know what I see as the product before she can do it. And so I also have all three of the girls. They are in control and of their policies and procedures. About once a quarter, we all will review our procedures and make sure that everything is up to date. And what I mean is, for example, okay, social media. So she, in her procedures, she'll say, I post on these days. These are our pillars of content that we have created and that we post in. Here is the link to the Canva template. Here is how I write what our caption is. You know, like if she uses a chat GPT prompt, then we would put that chat GPT prompt in there. And so that way, if she disappears tomorrow, I have a document that literally says every single step. I log into Facebook. I go to this thing. And it is like very, very detailed. Divine, when she posts a listing on Etsy for me, she says, I click new listing. I type out, this is how I look for my SEO. Like everything is there. We have screenshots of like, this is where you click. And like I said, we review it about once a quarter. We keep it in our Google Drive. Everyone knows that about once a quarter to expect that email from me that says, hey, send it over to me next week. You know, and I usually give them a week to then sit down and make sure that all of the steps they're taking throughout the week are recorded. But that has allowed me to basically hand off a position to someone else remarkably. Like I don't have to hardly do any training because we've already done it. And we just leave it all in Google Drive.
That's genius. I was just going to ask you what project management software you use, but Google's amazing. Google can do so many wonderful things, which is great. And they have a lot of tools and shareability on there, which is awesome. So that's great advice. You're right. Because I know sometimes it's all up in our head. And I would say I even have a hard time articulating. It's like, this is how I want the process to flow. I think I've had an easier time working with my team and saying, this is what I want the end result to look like. How you get there is up to you. If you find that you can navigate it a different way, that's great. But share me how you did it, and there might be an easier process. And it's taken me a while to give that up, to be like, somebody else's process might be different than mine, but it might be more effective than mine, and that's amazing. It took me just over a year to make my first hire on my team, and she's my marketing director, and she's amazing, and she's taught me so much. And I'm like, why didn't I hire her a year ago? Well, it was getting out of my own way and getting comfortable with delegating those things. And gosh, it's freed up a lot of my time. And she does it marvelously. I mean, so much better than I could have done it in a faster time frame. So
yes, I agree. 100%. I agree. I feel like this last year, I've really had that realization also. And I think as entrepreneurs, I don't think that entrepreneurs think that we know everything, but I think maybe sometimes we get a little intimidated of the idea of hiring someone that might know more than us. Yeah. It kind of feels yucky on the ego. You know what I mean? Like, sure. I mean, I've made it here, you know, like, why would I figure this out? And I have just realized this year, like the best thing I can do is hire someone smarter than me. Like literally the best thing I can do for my business is hire someone smarter than me. I hired a girl. She worked 20 hours a week, and I think I paid her, close to $6,000 a month for just 20 hours a week, whatever that ends up being. Didn't work out just because of the person, but I was willing to pay that amount because I was like, this position needs a master's degree. While she didn't have necessarily a master's degree, she did in the industry that I'm in. Like she is in like the Canva, there's only like 10 people in this special Canva group. She was in that group. And so to me, I was like, I need that master's, you know, like I'm willing to pay for that access
Mm-hmm.
through you basically. And when I would tell people, like she only works a certain amount of hours, but I paid her so much, they were like, what? That's crazy. And I'm like, that's me paying for a master,
Well,
like that's how and they would be like, oh, okay. And once you get to certain levels, like especially when it comes to like kind of more tech online things, woo, you can charge so much money. Like Google ad specialist, Facebook ad specialist. Some of those people are $75 to $100 an hour.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're right. You do get what you're paid for. I know in my previous job, I had two assistants full time, and we paid them, I don't know, 14, 16 bucks an hour. Fine. But that's what we paid for. I mean, they were entry level positions. They were fine. But I would say my marketing person I have on staff now works part time. She runs circles around two full time people working
Yes.
more of an entry level, expertise. It does. It makes a lot of sense. And it's hard sometimes to jump in and test that theory, but you're right. If you're hiring an expert and you're hiring somebody that's smarter than you in that area, oh my gosh, they should catapult you, not hold you back.
Yeah, and I'll say, like, I think sometimes it probably, okay, for me, it took me like probably 2 or 3 times of getting burnt before I was like, I got to pay for what I want. Like, I ended up wasting a lot of money because I hired the cheap people, and it just realized, like, it just doesn't work. And in my industry too, like just being the e-commerce and online and everything, like there's not a lot of people that are great at everything. And I made that mistake at the beginning too. Like I thought I could hire one person that could be a designer and be like a spreadsheet genius and be a Google person, like those
Yeah.
people just don't, those brain waves just don't typically aren't in one brain,
Different skill
and
set.
so I've learned that, okay, I can't have one full-time person that does everything. I need about 3 part-time people that can really be specialists inside of their own niche. Like
Yeah.
I have one person that's amazing at customer service. I have one person that's amazing at SEO. Because that's an online business. I have to have SEO. Like,
Yeah.
if we don't do SEO, we're screwed, right?
Yeah.
And then I have another person that does design, and that my design girl could not send an email for her life. Like she would be like me, like, what do you want?
That's awesome. Kelli, thank you for your time today. What's the best way for our listeners to get in touch with you?
Okay, well, you can basically find me on all platforms under Elevated Agent. We're pretty much the one thing that comes up when you type that. But let's see, email is hello@elevatedagent.co. Sorry, I don't usually say it out loud, but it is .co. So that's
Yeah.
but yeah, that's how you can find me. Instagram, you can find me all over that. So
Thank you. I really appreciate it. This has been good.